Innovation. We hear so much about it. What is innovation? Do you have the spirit for innovation? Do your team members have it? If you do not have it, can it be acquired? Our guest, George Horrigan of Fountainhead Consulting Group, is a noted innovation and business planning expert, and he believes he can transform your organization through innovative thinking. Turn every person in your organization into a fountain of innovation.
Welcome to the Business Developers Network, where today's leading business developers share and learn innovative business development concepts to generate greater value for their businesses. Hosted by Artie Ruderman, Principal of Innovative Growth Solutions. Broadcasting live from the Pro Business Channel studios in Atlanta and worldwide across the PBC syndicated networks. This episode made possible in part by Innovative Growth Solutions. For more info, visit igscorp.net. And now, please welcome your host of the Business Developers Network, Artie Ruderman.
Hello, and I am your host, Artie Ruderman of Innovative Growth Solutions, and welcome to the Business Developers Network. We have a very, very special show today because you will note that I mentioned the name of my company is Innovative Growth Solutions, and we hear the word innovation thrown about and bantered about so often. But what is innovation? And do you have the spirit of innovation? Do your team members have the spirit of innovation? And if not, is that something that could be acquired? Well, we have a very special guest. We have George Horrigan of the Fountainhead Consulting Group. And he is a noted innovation and business planning expert who over the last 17 years has shown over 1,200 companies how to use innovation to achieve the goals for their organization. So get ready to listen and learn how to innovate. George, can you give us a little intro for yourself? I think, I'd like to do that, but I want to hear about the books that you have written and the speaking engagements have you met, because I want to qualify to our audience that you really are an expert on innovation.
Well, thank you very much, Artie. I'm glad to be here. I am an innovation expert, and what we do is we show people how to transform their organization through innovation. And there are three aspects to what we do. First is working with the organization itself and how to create an innovative environment, a culture of innovation. Secondly, training the employees in the company how to effectively innovate through our Innovation Academy. It's a 2-day academy. We actually train employees how to effectively innovate, and we've done that with over 1,200 companies during the past 17 years. And thirdly, is we develop software to manage the entire innovation process, wall-to-wall, stem to stern.
Yeah, George, I appreciate that, but tell us about you.
Yeah, so but myself, I come at this area of innovation from four aspects, four backgrounds. Number one, I've started 9 companies in my life and applied innovation to each one of them. Number two, in Fountainhead Consulting Group, we've worked with over 1,200 companies implementing innovation during the past 17 years. Number three is I've spent countless hours in reading and research of what it takes to become an innovative company over the past 20-plus years. And number four is I'm an inventor. I have a number of inventions. So I've learned a lot about innovation and inventions over the past number of years. I'm an author and professional speaker. My 4th book comes out this year, titled that's Work Less, Make More, and Have Fun in Your Business. And I regularly write and speak on innovation.
Well, your humble host, myself, I am a business development savant. I love it, I talk it, and I know when I meet another. And George and I met last week, and we just got right into the weeds about business development and innovation, and I said, I just had to have you on. So to start, let's talk about definitions, because you and I have a different take on the definition for business development. How do you define business development?
Business development is anything that's going to move your business forward to where you want it to go. It's not the narrow concept of somebody out just doing marketing. It's planting seeds, it's developing strategies, it's building bridges to people, it's the traditional marketing and sales, anything that's related to moving your business forward, I consider part of a business development.
And that's why George and I hit it off right away. I define business development as any activity that generates value. And it could come from any discipline in a company. An IT director could introduce a new software that makes the customer experience when they phone in go smoother and quicker, which creates customer satisfaction. Management can do mergers and acquisitions, which can dramatically grow the company's revenue. So we're on the same page, and what I like about that is the fact that each of those different disciplines, whether they be in the finance side, the marketing side, the management side, project side, engineering side, innovation could take place.
Absolutely.
So let's define innovation. How would you define innovation?
Innovation is a business strategy. It's not something that you just try. Well, we're going to try innovation this month, and if that doesn't work, next month we'll try something different. It's a complete embracing of a business strategy that says we're going to do things in a better way throughout our entire company.
Well, you and I, again, we had such a great conversation. I want to share as much of it as I can with our audience, because when we talked about the division of responsibilities in companies, and we talked about really the DNA of who leads a company, and we talked about those that have the marketing capability and those who have the management capability or the engineering capability. You and I had similar definitions. For instance, I'll talk about a company that has grown because an engineer developed a widget, if you will, that had a patent on it. It was needed, and it grew very quickly. From 2 people, 5 people, 2 million, 10 million, 50 million, and then it plateaued. And then that engineer found himself doing a doggy paddle simply because he wasn't in his DNA after the original excitement to know how to market. So that's different than someone who has the natural ability to be an entrepreneur, although the engineer certainly was an entrepreneur in that example, but really knowing how to develop business. And that's different than being a marketing and salesperson. What was your take on those two different? Because it was slightly different than mine.
Yeah, what you don't want to be in the innovation space is a one-hit wonder. You've come up with one idea, and that's all you have. And the key to that is developing a culture, a culture of innovation in your company, so that all the people in the company are thinking of ways of being innovative. So let's really define innovation. Innovation is really doing things in a better way. When people think of innovation, they think of just new products and services, but there are actually 9 different types of innovation. And what we do is we work with companies in developing all 9 of those. And when a company has a innovation orientation, or we refer to as an innovation culture, you'll see opportunities for innovation everywhere.
Well, let's dive down a little bit. That's why our audience is listening. You're telling us something new that they want to learn. So if I'm an organization that has plateaued, innovation, it has the connotation of just being metaphysical, magic. It happens in a dream. It happens in the shower. And either you have it or you don't. And what is interesting is you can actually train individuals to be innovative. So why don't you tell us a little bit about those 9 categories?
Yeah. So let's go through those, and let's talk about how you actually start to become innovative. All right?
Thank you.
I'll walk you through that very, very easily. So 9 different types of innovation. The one that most people think of are new products and services. That's pretty straightforward. Number 2 is cost reductions and productivity gains. Number 3 is customer experience improvements. So improving your customer's experience in dealing with you. Number 4 is employee engagement and satisfaction increases. Number 5 is supply chain and vendor interaction enhancements. Number 6 is market reorientation. So what the remaining 4, I'm going to kind of give you an example. The first 5 people can grasp pretty quickly. So number 5 is market reorientations. A good example of that.
If I can, George, that would be number 6.
So, number 6, I'm sorry.
Supply chain logistics.
Yeah, number 6, I'm sorry. Okay.
That's right.
Arm & Hammer baking soda is a really good example of a market reorientation. What Arm & Hammer has done is they've taken their product, and now it's in toothpaste, laundry detergents, cleaning supplies, dog and cat supplies. interesting. We're actually in conversations with the parent company of Armour & Hammer to become one of our clients. So that's number 6 is market reorientations. Okay, number 7 is business organization restructurings. Good example is Hewlett-Packard Enterprises. Hewlett-Packard split into 2 different companies, HP Inc. and HP Enterprises, with the effort of trying to become more innovative. Number 8 is environmental impact advances. So there's a business that's in the process of becoming one of our clients. What they've developed is they're able to, in real time, monitor the smokestack emissions of a company. They've got equipment that sits on the top of a smokestack, an industrial smokestack, and it monitors the emissions and then adjusts the equipment that's in the factory based upon the emissions. And then number 9 is societal enrichments. A good example is the state of Connecticut. What the state of Connecticut does in their prisons is they give dogs to their inmates, and the inmates train those dogs, which help rehabilitates the inmates, and then returning service people are given those dogs to deal with PTSD. So that's a societal enrichment. How can we do things better in society that improves life overall?
All right, so I'm listening, and I hear these 9 categories, which thank you very much for giving us an overall view. But those are areas that innovation could be applied to. So I'm looking for the secret sauce of innovation applied. So you mentioned products and services. So, for instance, everyone talks about Uber being innovative because it removed the formality of a taxi cab. Anybody could be a driver, and you have an app. It's wonderful. I get it. But what did the founder of Uber know or think or do that allowed him to see that?
One of the foundations that we use is to see every single problem that you incur from the minute you get up in the morning to the minute you go to bed at night as an opportunity for innovation.
Go ahead.
And just an example, I actually thought of the concept of Uber about 3 or 4 years before Uber started. I didn't have a chance to move forward with it. I'll tell you the story of how it actually worked. Okay, I was on support for my PC with a person in the Philippines. And I was on the phone for about 3-4 hours. They were troubleshooting this and troubleshooting that. So I shared with him that I'm an innovation expert. And he said, well, tell me more about this. And give him a little bit more background. I said, well, let's actually do an example. I said, and I was talking about problem, viewing every problem that you have, that you incur as an opportunity for innovation. And he was telling me about the hassle of getting from his home to the business location that day. And I said, well, what if you had a app on your phone that showed your picture and the picture of the cab driver, and through GPS you guys were able to synchronize? You'd actually see what that cab looked like and the cab driver looked like. They'd see what your picture is, and you'd be able to sync up hailing a cab. That was about 2 years before Uber actually started. And that's how it works. So let's drill in this a little bit more. Innovation really distills down to 2 things: having an entrepreneurial mindset and an innovation skill set. Now, the reason why an entrepreneurial mindset is so key is when a typical employee runs into a problem, they think obstacle. Whereas when an entrepreneur runs into a problem, they think opportunity. It's a completely different mindset. And that mindset says, problem, how can I solve that problem? Here's an opportunity. So once you have an entrepreneurial mindset, you see opportunities for innovation everywhere. And that's the first key in a company, is you have to get the people in the company thinking entrepreneurially. Secondly, while they're thinking entrepreneurially, just thinking in that way doesn't create innovations. You have to give them a skill set. And we actually train employees with an innovation skill set. We've developed a number of tools that break down into ideation tools, coming up with ideas, development tools, take ideas to workable prototypes, and then commercialization tools.
We're going to drill down on those because I think they're very germane to our conversation. I'm again, going back to our conversation earlier in the week, we run so parallel to each other because within companies, I definitely see 2 DNAs, 2 personalities. And there is that structured engineering side that this is the way it's done, this is the way it will be. And when they meet a problem, they just try to work themselves out of it by applying what has been and how does it work, whereas you say the entrepreneurial mind will look for a different approach to it, right? As you described, they
Correct.
see opportunity. I went to a very interesting, matter of fact, I think that's where we met, George, at a presentation for Transit X.
That is correct.
Now, we talk about, innovation and concept. Here in Atlanta, we have limited north-south routes for traffic, so getting to an airport can take you an hour and a half with traffic. The idea of building more lanes can happen. The idea of building trains, it can't physically happen, or it should say it would be very costly and the infrastructure would be very demanding. This company came up with floating pods, which very inexpensive and very little infrastructure necessary. So the idea that you can just board this floating pod that runs along the highway, to me, really represents innovation on the product and service side, which was your number one area. It also met with the cost area because the cost to achieve this was much less expensive than trains or new highways. It was an improvement. It doesn't meet the employee side that I can fit into, certainly the supply chain and logistics side. So drill down a little bit, if you will, about companies that you have helped or personalities that you have helped so the audience could see how the connection really works.
Yeah, so let me just give you share a few examples of companies we've worked with and innovations they've come up with. Okay? Let's do a new business. So one of our clients was a marketing company, is a marketing company, traditional marketing company, and they developed a mapping of how companies put their story together for their market pitches. So it's a completely different product. Another client, they were a physician recruitment company, okay? And they also provided other services to the physician industry. This is a market reorientation innovation. What they did is they basically became WebMD for the physician industry. They became a marketplace, a clearinghouse for all information related to how you properly manage a physician office.
Well, that sounds like innovation. Was that before or after your meeting them?
That was after. From working with us, okay, from working with us, they moved in that direction.
All right. So the process and the tool set for that's what I'm interested in. If you take somebody who can't dance, how do you give them rhythm?
Yeah. So everybody is innovative. If you look at a 1-year-old or 2-year-old, they are creative, okay? So you see a 1 or 2-year-old, and they'll take a piece of wood, they'll bang it against the wall, they'll slam it on the floor, they'll stick it in an outlet, they'll taste it, they'll throw it across the room. They're experimenting with the physical properties of that piece of wood. Every single one of us was born creative. And what happens is we're creative, playing in sandboxes, playing with toys, drawing pictures, up to about age 5. And when we get into school, unfortunately, our current school system has a tendency to squash innovation. We become very, very uniform. And what we do is we work with people to rediscover that creativity. And how you rediscover it, there's a number of tools that we use, okay, that are practical tools, not pie-in-the-sky tools, but practical tools. One of them is what we were just chatting about. View every single problem from the minute you wake up to the minute you go to the bed. Anything that didn't go 100% smoothly is an opportunity for innovation. And you start thinking, well, how could this work? How could I come up with a solution for this? And you do that all day long. And we use this term called embedded innovation. So some companies, there's no innovation that takes place whatsoever. Other companies say an approach is we're going to set aside an hour a week just to sit there and think of ideas. And that's good, but our approach is much more integrated. It's called embedded innovation. And throughout your entire day, whether it's work, whether it's personal, whether it's your family, anything that didn't go 100% smoothly, you say, how could I improve that? What is a solution to that? And once you start getting comfortable with that, you'll start seeing opportunities for innovation everywhere. Number two is once you start developing that skill set, that trait, you'll start just saying, well, I wonder if, and not related to a problem that you're having. You're sitting at a traffic light. I'll just tell you, for instance, one that just happened recently, okay? I'm driving in Atlanta, and manhole covers. You hit a manhole cover, and bam! It drops down about 3-4 inches, and your whole car gets jolted, and you just get all shaken up there. And I said, well, how could you eliminate the drop of manhole covers? So I just kind of played with it, and I came up with an innovation that I'm going to be approaching the companies that manufacture manholes of how to eliminate those bumps, those dips. So that's how you actually go about it, is you change the way you view life, and you rediscover that creativity that you had as a child. Now, that's not a simplistic way, but if you're an engineer and you're working on an air conditioning system for a business, and you've run into this problem with a certain volume of flow in the pipes, well, how could I do this differently? If I changed the structure of the pipe, I made it a round pipe versus a square pipe, or if I coated the inside of the piping with certain chemicals that would increase airflow, you just play with that.
Well, that's all interesting. I have so many things I was jotting down that I want to share with you as you were talking. Number one, back in the day, the expression "necessity is the mother of invention," which is a little bit about what you're talking about. All of a sudden, you're presented with an issue or a problem, and you think outside the box, which is another dated expression for innovation. And it's funny you mentioned the manhole in particular. I was approached by a company that a big issue right now is the theft of manhole covers because of their value of steel. They're being robbed. New Orleans is hundreds of them are disappearing.
Interesting.
Yeah, right. So a company that has...
Who would have thought?
Yeah, I'll connect you with them. One company has a lock that you can put on the manhole cover so they can't be stolen. It just goes to show you, right? But when you were talking about, who has innovation and how you get them to unleash this reimagination, another term, buzzword being thrown about. I'm thinking back when I was 5 or 6 in first grade, and I was first at my easel with little pint milk cartons with paint mixed into them, and I went to that board, and I expected to just become a masterpiece. And what happened is I knocked over the easel, and all the paint was on the floor. It looked like a mess. And George, for the rest of my life, I never attempted to paint, or if I did, I said, I just don't have what it takes. I can't do it. Little did I know that Pollock was going to develop abstractism, and I could have been ahead of the curve looking at that mess on the floor. But that is key to the individuals that you're working with. They're pre-programmed by their prior experiences as to what they could be successful at and what they're not. So talk about, if I'm on the right track.
Artie, you are right on the right track. So
please.
Let me share 2 things later to what you shared. It is absolutely fundamental in an organization. We're chatting about culture. You have to create an innovative culture. Innovation only works from the top down. It does not work from the bottom up. So every so often we get called into companies where the business owner, leader, executive says, fix my people. My employees are not innovative. Make them innovative. It doesn't work that way, okay? Unless the leadership, management is willing to embrace innovation, it will not work. Number one. Number two is a key thing is you have to create a safe environment. Everybody is watching. When a company starts an innovation effort, an innovation initiative, everybody's looking. And if Artie comes up with this idea, okay, and the idea fails, okay, and Artie gets castigated, gets maligned, gets demoted, gets fired, everybody has watched that. And they're saying, I'm not going there. I'm not going to venture out on the end of the board, okay? I'm just going to stay right where I'm at. So you absolutely have to create that safe environment. And a number of leaders have been expert at that. Steve Jobs was fantastic at that, of creating that safe environment at Apple, and that's why Apple was so innovative. Number 3 is we were chatting about entrepreneurship. And what is the difference between an employee when they run into a problem versus an entrepreneur? When an employee runs into a problem, they think obstacle. Whereas when an entrepreneur runs into a problem, they think opportunity. And the difference is, an employee runs into a problem, they just get frustrated, stymied, I'll just work around this. It's just something that I'll just have to put up with. And that's the difference. When you think of it from an entrepreneurial standpoint, you say, how can I solve this problem? Okay, what can I do differently? You're not stuck in the current situation of just having to deal with this. What is a good, viable solution or multiple solutions to this problem of the manhole covers?
There you go. We have about 5 minutes remaining, and I want to make sure we touch base on what you want to get across. I really appreciate having you on as a guest, and I respect what you bring to the table. And it's such, I think, a germane topic, because we all talk about innovation, and my company even has it in its name, and yet, you know, who has that DNA? And if they don't think it. We're talking about it's a personality, and we're talking about it's top-down driven by management. So what else could you add, George? And by all means, please, give a little plug for your company, because I really appreciate you coming here. I know you've authored several books, and I also know that you have a process that you could go through and talk about as well.
Yeah. So innovation is like good government. Everybody wants good government, but how do you actually do it? It's a lot harder to do than just to speak out. And there's a number of moving parts to innovation. Innovation is incredibly complex. From an overall concept, it's very, very simple. It's creativity applied to a business setting or an organizational setting. But when you actually get to the details, there's a number of moving parts, a number of components. And we attack this from basically 3 directions, 3 aspects. Number 1 is our Fast Track Innovation Program, which has 10 components of how you create an innovative culture. Number 2 is we have our Innovation Academy. It's a 2-day academy. We actually train employees how to effectively innovate. And we work with specific companies. We have Innovation Academies we do for a company where we're just training their employees. We also have public innovation academies where we'll have 50 people attending, and 3 people from company A, 2 from company B, 4 from company C, 2 from company D, et cetera, et cetera. And it's a 2-day academy where the first day we're training them how to think like an entrepreneur. What does it mean to think like an entrepreneur? And the second day is we train them on our innovation tool set. So as I was sharing before, innovation really distills down to an entrepreneurial mindset and an innovation skill set. If you have those 2 things, you see the world differently. And number 2 is you've got the tools, development tools, innovation development tools, innovation ideation tools, development tools, and commercialization tools. You will see opportunities for innovation and be able to innovate everywhere. And then number 3 is we developed software to manage the entire innovation process. So one of the concepts we have is called 360-degree innovation. We show companies how to solicit innovations from your customers, your employees, your supply chain, and the public. Customers, employees, supply chain, and the public. And one of our software products solicits innovations from your customers and the public. That product's called Bright Idea Lab, and then a second product is called iLab. It solicits innovations from your employees, your supply chain, and your sales channel. And what they do is they route the ideas to the correct person in your company that can act on them. So our software basically functions as Match.com for anybody with an idea and organizations looking for ideas. And that's so key because if you've come up with an idea and it's not your company, all right, so Artie, let's say you've got a great idea for a soft drink, excuse me, and you pick up the phone and you call Coca-Cola. You're not going to get a hold of the correct person at Coca-Cola, okay? And sooner or later you're just going to give up, okay? But Coca-Cola knows they need great new innovative ideas. What our software does, it connects you with the correct person in Coca-Cola based upon the details in your idea and the details that that person in Coca-Cola is looking for ideas. And the same thing with that's the public-facing product. With our company-specific product, iLab, it does the same thing, but getting an idea from somebody in engineering, okay, that has this great idea that's really a marketing idea. It routes it to the correct person in marketing that's looking for that type of idea.
So I and the audience can fully understand what you have done is created a company as an ombudsman, if you will, or a mediator between large companies or just any company really, and being seen as a conduit. That's a better expression, perhaps. So if I have a great idea, you're right. I can't call up UPS and say, hey, guys, I have a great marketing idea for you or operational idea for you. But you've partnered with these companies, so why are they listening to Fountainhead, or I'm sorry, the name of that company I missed?
Yeah, so these are software products that we develop. Okay, so these are our software products that we developed, okay, and we're in the process of taking them to the world. That falls in the category of innovation pipeline management. That's what we do, is we manage the flow of ideas, soliciting ideas from people either inside of the company or outside the company, and then routing those ideas to the correct person in the company that is interested in that type of idea and then can take action on that. And our software then keeps the person receiving that idea in touch with the person sending that idea, so they can track what's happening with my idea, where is it at, what additional information do you need, et cetera, et cetera.
So I can see that the sole proprietor, well, it doesn't have to be. Anybody could invent an idea or reimagine something. They reach out to your organization, and the marketplace, companies, tap into your organization, or do you reach out on behalf of them to those organizations because you have the appropriate personnel file?
So let's just use you, Artie, as an example. Okay, Artie would go out and you'd build a profile on our software. Okay, so websites, cloud-based. Okay, Bright Idea Lab. This is the public-facing product. So the industry-specific product works basically the same, but we'll talk about yourself there. Okay, so you build a profile and you start submitting ideas. You've got a great idea for a new microphone. Okay, a great idea for a new banner. A great idea for new electric lights. So let's use electric lights. You want to get connected with Philips, okay, Philips Lighting. You pick up the phone and you call Philips, okay, you'll never get through to the correct person. What our software does is based upon the idea details that you have, it routes that idea automatically to the person in Philips that's looking for that type of lighting idea.
So your company has the profile and has the connections?
Correct.
That's huge.
Exactly.
That's great.
So it's basically Match.com, okay, where people are connecting, okay, for anybody with an idea, already with ideas, and you can submit hundreds, thousands of ideas, okay? And I use the term idea. It's not just a pure idea. It could be just an idea. It could be something that you've got patented. It could be you don't have a patent. You've got a prototype. It could be a startup business. It could be existing business. Some way, shape, or form, you've got something that you want to get connected with a business that's interested in that idea. That's what our software does.
Well, George, just like our previous conversation, we could continue, but our airtime is just about to run out. So how does the audience get in contact with you and or your companies?
Yep. So the name of our firm is Fountainhead Consulting Group. And my email address is george.horrigan, and that's HORRIGAN at Fountainhead Consulting Group. So it's all spelled out. So there's two G's next to each other, .com. So george.horrigan at fountainheadconsultinggroup.com. And obviously our website is fountainheadconsultinggroup.com. And phone number is 770-642-4220. 770-642-4220.
George, thank you very much. It was very enlightening. I know our audience enjoyed it. So signing off, this is Artie Ruderman of Innovative Growth Solutions for the Business Developers Network and Pro Business Channel, signing off. And remember to keep growing and developing your business.
On behalf of the Pro Business Channel Networks, we want to thank our guests, sponsors, and you, the audience, for joining us on the Business Developers Network. This episode made possible in part by Innovative Growth Solutions. For more info, visit igscorp.net. Today's broadcast can be heard on demand on your favorite internet channels, including iHeartRadio, iTunes, Google Play, and across the PBC syndicated networks. We invite you to share the show using the posted social media links and join Artie Ruderman and his guests on the next episode of the Business Developers Network.